How do you dramatically reduce your cost per click, cost per lead, cost per conversion on Facebook by optimizing your campaign through this method, which I call the Dream 100 Bridge Ads. The first thing to do is I want you to notice what most people do on Facebook that causes them to pay inflated prices. Here's what they do. They run this Facebook ad to millions of people based on their interest, based on the celebrities they follow, based on all these different people, which is a super broad audience, and that's why the price is super high and the message is not laser focused. But what if you could create laser focused messaging to the people in your niche through this method called the Dream 100 Bridge Ads? Hey, this is Peng Joon here, and one of the things that I've done over the last decade, pretty much, I've spent millions of dollars from my own pocket, using my own money, running ads on Facebook. And one of the things that I discovered is this technique where if you could target very, very specific audience, your price of your lead, your cost, your click becomes dramatically lower. I'm talking about right now, think about who are the different influencers, thought leaders, experts, business pages where they already have a following on Facebook, and rather than bundling all these different pages and interests together, how can you target just one page, one influencer, one author, one expert with one specific ad? Now, this Dream 100 terminology was initially coined, I believe, by Chet Holmes, and then after marketers started using this terminology as well, which is basically who are the top 100 people in your market right now that rather than looking at them as competitors, can you work together where it's us against the market rather than us against each other? What if you could list down literally who are these different authors, thought leaders, and experts, start listing them out right now and start thinking, if these people has followers, if they are interested in their stuff, maybe they might be interested in mine as well. Now, so to give you an example, I am in social media and I do trainings, workshops, and programs in social media. So I'm constantly thinking, who are the people that might have a following, and with their following, their followers might be interested in what it is that I have to offer as well. So example over here would be a Dream 100 Bridge ad that I use to literally target only Gary Vee's followers. And if you don't like him or follow him on social media, you will literally never see this video. The reason why it does really well in terms of generating leads and sales very, very profitably is because there is a right message to market match. Now, literally, this is how the ad looks like. It's basically me starting a video holding up Gary Vee's books, and it says, top lessons I learned from reading Gary Vee's books. So I talked about his books, and now his followers can see my biggest takeaways from his books. And then after that, I talked about the story of how I met Gary, and I talked about the backstory to it. And then I talked about looking at what Gary does. One of the things that inspired me to do is I'm amazed by how he pumps out content every single day consistently on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. And I thought about how I could do it without spending tens of millions of dollars a year by creating a system around it. So I literally talk about how I created a 9-step process, and I talked about how the 9-step process is documented inside this book. And if they would like to get a copy of my process, head over to the website if they're interested to find out how they can duplicate the same process that I use on social media. So in order to promote that product that I have, I'm thinking about creating that bridge with a particular influencer. And guess what? I have ads for all these different people. I've got a specific ad, Robert Kiyosaki's followers. I've got a specific ad for Tony Robbins' followers. I've got a specific ad for people who like Toastmasters. I've got a specific ad to all these different people, businesses, organizations. And it really comes into this 3-part process. Number 1, identify who are the people in that Dream 100. Who are these speakers, authors, thought leaders, people who have a following? Number 2 is how can you create this bridge? And here's the takeaway, by the way, that the biggest thing that you need to be doing is not to talk trash about these people, but come from the angle of how these people actually help you. What results do you generate by implementing their strategies? Create that bridge to what it is that you do and what it is that you offer. So now it makes sense. And now your offer and your message is super laser focused to that particular influencer, author, speaker, or celebrity. This is what I call a Dream 100 ad, and this is just one of the many methods that you can utilize in order to significantly reduce the cost per click, cost per action, cost per lead, as well as cost per sale. And what if I told you that this is just one of the many techniques found inside this book here called $1 Million Ads. In fact, after spending over $1 million, we documented all of the different frameworks that we personally use, and the Dream 100 Bridge Ads is just one of the many frameworks. Now, if you found that this video got value for you, then you might want to check this book out, $1milliondolarads.com, in order to get a copy of this book as well. Hey, this is Peng Joon here, and as always, I hope you found value from this video. Let me know in the comments below who are the people that you intend to target, what is your biggest takeaway, and how can you actually implement this right now. And as always, click on subscribe if you found that this video got value. Until then, I will see you on the next video.